The story of Marcus, from struggle to triumph. A Jamaican folk tale. Part 1, the beginning of Marcus' journey. Marcus was a young man from the rough ghetto of Kingston, Jamaica, known for his big heart and powerful dreadlocks that cascaded down his back like the roots of an ancient tree. He lived in a small wooden house made of rough planks, built with his own hands. The paint had long faded, but it was his sanctuary. He didn't have much, barely enough to eat, but he was rich in spirit. Marcus was a Rastafarian, his faith a constant source of strength. He would rise early each morning before the sun even stretched its golden fingers across the horizon, taking time to pray and reflect. His thoughts would wander to Jah, God, and the wisdom of the elders who taught him that no matter how rough life became, you could always rise above. Though the world around him was often harsh, he refused to let it break him. He believed that if you worked with your hands and trusted in your heart, the universe would find a way to reward your effort. Marcus' life wasn't easy. He had no formal education, but he was a fast learner, and his hands were strong from years of manual labor. His first job was on a construction site. Every day, he'd wake before dawn, catch a bus that came just once every half hour, and race the streets of Kingston, chasing after the bus like it was a fleeting dream. Often, he'd miss the bus and have to walk miles to the site, but he never complained. He'd arrive on the site, dusty and tired, and still he'd smile at the foreman who would often shake his head. "Marcus, me don't know how you keep up your energy, but you take the hard work like a champ," the foreman would say, giving him the toughest assignments. Sometimes, Marcus would feel the weight of the world press on his shoulders. The construction job was hard work, lifting heavy cement blocks, mixing concrete, and working under the blazing sun. At night, when his body ached from the labor, he'd sit outside his little wooden house and cook his simple meals of saltfish and dumplings, his Rastafarian herb tea in hand, and dream of better days. But it wasn't just the construction site where Marcus worked. He had a side hustle, washing clothes for the more affluent people in the neighborhood. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Every day, Marcus would carry a bundle of laundry on his back, walking miles to deliver it to the wealthy families who lived in houses he could only imagine. The women would giggle and gossip about his long dreadlocks, but Marcus didn't care. He just smiled and went about his business. He'd wash, scrub, and hang out the clothes, all the while singing softly, letting the rhythm of the world and his spirit guide him. One day, after a long shift on the construction site, Marcus sat under a mango tree near the bus stop, wiping the sweat off his brow. A bus approached, its engine humming, and without thinking, Marcus stood up and started running to catch it. As fate would have it, his foot caught in a pothole, and he fell face first into the dirt. People laughed and pointed, but Marcus didn't care. He simply picked himself up, dusted off his clothes, and kept going. "This is life, me youth," he muttered, wiping the dirt from his face. "Me not giving up." Part 2, Struggle and Resilience. The years passed, and Marcus continued to push through life. Sometimes, it felt like every step forward was followed by 2 steps back. Yet, with every hardship, he grew stronger, and with every setback, his spirit remained unbroken. There were days when he didn't know how he was going to make ends meet. He couldn't afford rent, sometimes barely affording food, but he never let go of his faith. One evening, when the rain came down in sheets, Marcus stood at the bus stop once again, waiting for a ride home after a long day at work. The streets were flooded, and the wind howled through the alleyways. He looked around and saw people huddled under umbrellas, looking miserable. But Marcus smiled. He had learned long ago that no storm could take away his inner peace. He thought of the songs his mother used to sing, of the old wisdom she imparted to him when he was just a boy. "Rise above, Marcus," she would say. "No matter how deep the rain fall, you have to know that the sun will shine again." As he walked home, the rain poured down harder. The road was slick, and the water reached up to his ankles. But Marcus just kept walking, his dreadlocks wet but his mind focused. The next morning, a man in a suit passed by Marcus while he was working on a construction site. This man, seeing the determination in Marcus' eyes, stopped and struck up a conversation. "You work hard, you know," the man said. Marcus smiled but didn't say much. The man introduced himself as Mr. Campbell, a contractor who ran a big company, and he offered Marcus a business opportunity. "Me could use a man like you who not afraid of hard work. How about a steady job at my company? You could move from the construction site, get off the street corner, and into something bigger." Marcus had jumped, but he kept his cool. "Me appreciate the offer, me boss, but me no forget me roots. Me willing to work hard. But me no move from the ghetto yet. Me have to make sure me pick up the skills fi keep the family in the right place." Mr. Campbell was impressed by Marcus' humility and determination. He didn't push further. Instead, he said, "We'll be in touch, Marcus. Keep doing what you're doing." Over the next few weeks, Marcus worked harder than ever, doing odd jobs here and there. His reputation for hard work grew, and slowly but surely, he started making enough to invest in his own small construction tools. He bought his first little truck to transport materials, and over time, he started doing his own jobs, working independently. Part 3, The Turning Point. A few years passed, and Marcus' business started to grow. He saved his money carefully, never wasting it, and slowly built up his company. It wasn't a large company, but it was steady, and it allowed him to hire others in the community, giving jobs to men and women who were struggling just like he had once done. One day, as Marcus sat on the porch of his wooden house, now fully restored, a luxury car pulled up. Out stepped Mr. Campbell, the man who had given him that first chance. "Marcus," Mr. Campbell said, his face glowing with respect. "I hear you've done well for yourself. I have a new opportunity for you. We are working on a major project, and I could use your expertise. If you're interested, this is your chance to take your business to the next level." Marcus didn't hesitate. He had made it, but he still carried the same humility and strength he'd had when he was struggling. The man from the ghetto had risen, not by abandoning his roots, but by holding firm to his faith, hard work, and resilience. He accepted the offer, and soon Marcus was managing large construction projects, earning more money than he ever imagined. His wooden house was replaced by a beautiful home made of stone, with a garden full of fruit trees and flowers. He became known as a local hero, an example of perseverance, someone who had fought through the storms of life and come out on top. Part 4, The Legacy. Years later, as Marcus stood at the top of a skyscraper he had helped build, looking out at the sprawling city of Kingston, he thought back on his journey. The days of chasing buses, washing clothes, and working construction felt like a lifetime ago, but they had shaped the man he had become. He never forgot his humble beginnings, nor the lessons he learned along the way. He continued to give back to the community, helping those who had once been in his shoes. He supported the youth, taught them about the importance of hard work, and reminded them that, no matter how tough life got, the key to success was never giving up. Marcus' name became synonymous with perseverance. He had gone from a poor Rastafarian man in the ghetto to a wealthy, respected businessman, but he remained true to his roots. His wealth didn't just come from money, but from the strength of his character, the resilience of his spirit, and the unwavering faith he had in Jah. And as he stood there, looking at the sun setting over Kingston, he knew one thing for sure: the storm had passed, and the sun had finally shone through. The end.